Guess what I did yesterday? I threw up. Okay, no, it's a joke. Well, no, it's not a joke. I did throw up, but at this point, throwing up is not exactly news, so I would not make another video about this. Yesterday, I, drumroll please, broke another rib. Yay! It's just ironic how things play out. It's like, oh, I get radiotherapy, really intense increase of the symptoms. And then it's like, oh, just when the breathlessness and the coughing are starting to get slightly better, it's like, oh, your leg starts really hurting. And then when that starts getting slightly better, it's like, oh, you just broke another rib. So it's like, no matter what happens, there's always one thing that replaces the other, that replaces the other, that replaces the other. It's like, in the last, I don't know, 2 months, I think at this point, it's just like there's been no reprieve. That's the reason for the last video where I pretty much give up. Like, not obviously like I didn't give up. It's just like a short-term giving up, so I know that I'm able to have the strength to get back up and keep going. Because giving up long-term is not an option. So it's like obviously I didn't actually give up, but that was the reason for that video. And it definitely helped. It relieved some pressure. It released a bunch of stuff, and I don't regret doing it. It felt really good. But it's just like, no matter what I do, it's like, this shit still happens. It still sucks. And I'm still going to be as positive as I can given the situation, just perhaps slightly less positive in the last couple weeks than I have been before that. But I guess that's the whole point of this journey, you know? It's easy to be positive when everything's going great, when there is no pain, when you can breathe normally, when you're not coughing your lungs out every day, when you don't throw up pretty much every single time you eat, when you don't have to force yourself to eat because you have no appetite. It's just like all these things. It's like, okay, when you're dealing with those things, much harder to remain in that positive mindset. So that's why I've been slightly less positive lately, slightly more sarcastic in case you couldn't tell. And yeah, I don't think there's really much to say aside from if you've never broken a rib, it sucks. Especially when you're coughing a lot, really sucks. So this morning, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm not wincing just from speaking, I do feel slightly better this morning. Yesterday, when it happened, it wasn't like last time. It wasn't like I was coughing and then like, the pain suddenly appeared and it's like, oh crap, something bad happened. It was just kind of like I'm coughing and it's like, I kind of feel a slight pain. That's weird. And then a couple minutes later, I cough again. It's like, the pain is still there. And it gets slowly more and more intense to the point where it's like, all right, now it hurts to breathe. This really sucks. Definitely not pleasant to cough though. But yeah, not as bad as yesterday. Luckily, yesterday it happened a couple hours before bedtime, so I was able to go to bed early and kind of use that to my advantage. I made sure to, obviously I've been lying, half sitting for the last couple of weeks. And I remain in that position, but usually at some point throughout the night, like that position gets uncomfortable. And I kind of like rotate a bit to the side just so it's slightly more comfortable. The only issue with that is it kind of makes my body kind of like at an angle like that. And since I'm sideways, it kind of like ends up hurting like my leg or my hip or like my, lower rib cage, which is definitely not ideal in this case. So yesterday I just made sure to stay inclined on my back all night. And even though it was uncomfortable and I did wake up a lot throughout the night, it did help a lot. Like this morning when I woke up, like I didn't even have any pain to the point where I'm like, all right, was it a broken rib or not? And that's the thing. There's always this period when I wake up of like, I'm not really coughing and I feel mostly better, but there's always kind of like this sensation of like, all right, my lungs like kind of closed up during the night and it's like hard for me to breathe. Not like I feel out of breath, just like there's just less space. That's what it feels like. And it's through the process of, brushing my teeth and starting to cough and stuff like that, and like, expel some of the phlegm that's built up during the night and stuff like that, that it kind of starts opening up. And even though, yes, it does suck coughing, it also does help on the breathing front and being upright and everything. So it usually takes like half an hour to an hour till I'm like, really fully awake and I can tell like, all right, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling worse. And conclusion is I am definitely feeling better than yesterday. The pain is not as bad, but it's definitely not gone, and I can tell it's going to get more intense throughout the day as I cough and, do all those pleasant things that I do throughout the day. So the rib is definitely broken. Luckily, the pain doesn't seem as intense as last time. So my guess is the fracture isn't as severe as the last one, or maybe it's just hasn't gotten to that point yet. And at some point, I'm gonna, sneeze or throw up. I'm really not looking to throwing up again because that's probably gonna suck with a broken rib. But anyway, or cough more intensely than normal, and that's just gonna like finish snapping, and then the pain's gonna come like bam. I hope not, but I'm realistic. I know it's a possibility, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, this just heals like, and by the end of the day, I'm feeling better, and it's like, oh, turns out I was wrong. It wasn't a broken rib, but it's like it feels the exact same as last time I broke a rib. So yeah, I'd be very surprised if it's not. And I know a lot of you are going to say, hey, you should go to the hospital. Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going for the simple reason that if I go, I'll spend the entire day in the emergency room. They're probably going to do a scan, which is going to lengthen my stay by 2 to 4 hours if I'm lucky. After which, they will either say, oh, your rib's broken, or your rib's not broken. Either way, they're going to say, sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. Go home, rest, and take pain pills to alleviate the pain whenever necessary. So I'm like, I don't feel like wasting an entire day in the emergency room, especially in those really uncomfortable chairs, uncomfortable position and everything. And I've just like, at this point, I've spent so much time in the hospital. It's like, first of all, I'm able to judge when it makes sense to go and when it doesn't make sense to go, and this does not make sense. And also, I've spent enough time that I'm like, I don't want to spend a second more than is absolutely needed. So that's why I appreciate everyone's concern. I'm very grateful for everything, all the comments, everything, even though I must admit the last, I don't know, 2, 3 videos, I haven't responded to the comments yet just because, well, the last couple days have been really intense. I just don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with the comments, even though, like I said, I really love everyone who comments. I appreciate it. And most of the time, it makes me feel really good when I read the comments. I don't have the energy. So I will get around to it at some point. I just don't know when. So please bear with me for that. So I kind of lost track of where I was, but I guess that's pretty much the summary for today. Just when you think things are getting better, something else happens to make your life suck. That's pretty much the summary of my last couple weeks. Which sounds very negative, but I'm sure there's a reason why this is happening, even though it sucks. And I guess because it's morning, because I feel slightly better, I'm able to have this perspective, this more positive outlook that I might not be able to have 12 hours from now when I'm coughing my lungs out and my ribs hurt like hell and I'm throwing up and I have trouble breathing. So, let's make the most of it whenever things aren't horribly horrible. Let's go with that. So, and on that wonderful note, let's end the video and see if I missed the button.